Yeah.
There's things that can play in people's favor. So.
And Tim, this search and rescue effort is very much still underway, but I do want to note that a law enforcement source is telling my colleague Gabe Cohen there are confirmed fatalities and that right now, as of this moment, rescuers have not pulled any survivors from the water. I do want to stress and emphasize these rescue efforts are continuing. And this source told Gabe Cohen the plane is in pieces in the water and that the helicopter is nearby. It's almost
in there, but again, a helicopter and small aircraft, that's at least the information that we've had confirmed coming into there.
This is CNN Breaking News.
I'm Abby Phillip in New York. You are watching special live coverage. I'm coming to you now with some major breaking news as we hit the top of the hour. In Washington, D.C., we've learned that a plane is now down in the Potomac River. A regional jet collided with a military helicopter as it was on approach to runway 33 at Reagan National Airport. The details we know coming from 3 short paragraphs just put out by the Federal Aviation Agency. The jet apparently departed from Wichita, Kansas. It was a PSA Airlines flight number 5342 flying for American Airlines. The helicopter was a Swarovski H-60. The NTSB will take the lead in the investigation to figure out.
Fire Command. The accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33. It was probably out in the middle of the river. I just saw a fireball and then it was just gone. So I haven't seen anything since they hit the river, but it was a CRJ and a helicopter that hit. I would say maybe a half-mile off the approach end of 33.
Now it's just to see if I could maybe see it land. And this was 3 seconds later, and at that point it was banked all the way to the right. I would say maybe past the right, past 90 degrees. I could see the underside of it. It was lit up a very bright yellow, and there was a stream of sparks underneath it. It looked like a Roman candle, if you've ever held one of those on the 4th of July, but it was much, much bigger than that. It was high off the ground. I didn't see anything beyond that. I didn't see any helicopter. It's a very, very dark night out tonight, so anything that's not illuminated you can't really see.
Praying that somebody's pulling her out of the river right now as we speak. That's all I can pray for. I'm just praying to God.
When was the last time you spoke with her?
She texted me that they were landing in 20 minutes.
Can you show us a text message that you got from her?
Landing in 20 minutes. The rest of my text did not get delivered. That's when I realized something might be up.
Spark Police, they can see this is not a search and rescue mission anymore. This is a recovery mission. Based on what they see, based on what they're looking at the river. And if I take you out in a second, when I show you the advantage view, I only see about 7 to 8 boats. Their hands full on, and they're all on the east side of the river by the military base. And that's what it tells me, like that's where the site of the crash is, where possibly the part of the plane is still floating.
Play in people's favor. So.
And Tim, this search and rescue effort is very much still underway, but I do want to note that a law enforcement source is telling my colleague Gabe Cohen there are confirmed fatalities and that right now, as of this moment, rescuers have not pulled any survivors from the water. I do want to stress and emphasize these rescue efforts are continuing. And this source told Gabe Cohen the plane is in pieces in the water and that the helicopter is nearby. It's almost
involved from something called jetphotos.net, a photograph of the CRJ 700 that was likely involved in the crash, certainly the model of the plane. It's about 106 feet long, 76 feet wide, the wingspan. This is how it's configured by American Airlines, 71 seats. If you've ever been inside these planes, they're about 6'2" inside, very small, 2 doors in the front, 2 doors over the wings, nothing in the back. But if Mark Seagraves is accurate, Margaret, what he told you was that plane is split in half in the water. The exits may not necessarily play a giant role in hopefully being able to get anyone off this plane. We just don't know at this point.
He told us that his wife had a fear of flying and had for some time, that she went to Wichita, Kansas for a work obligation and was coming home today on that American Airlines flight. The airport has very few people here right now, and for the families that have been coming in, they've been rushing to try to get information from officials with American Airlines that are providing them information about really the status of this
where the rotors are. The pilots are probably locked in on the runway in front of them, and you can see how this sort of disaster is in the making. So it is really...
Who was on a rooftop in a neighboring town called Arlington, right and able to see what actually took place. I've got Roy Best on the phone. Roy, can you tell us what you saw this evening?
Yes, me and myself, a couple of neighbors, we were on the rooftop today because it was a little warmer than it has been the last few weeks. We normally sit up there, watch the planes every day, fly up and down, very close to the airport. And then next thing you know, we just heard an explosion. We looked to the left. My neighbor just hollered, "It looks like a plane. It's a plane falling." So I looked down and we just saw the explosion and something falling down on the ground. And a few minutes later, we found out it was also a helicopter that crashed into the plane.
How many explosions did you hear?
I heard one explosion. And we saw a come almost like a firebomb and a slight going down a little bit. And then it's so dark out there, we didn't see anything else. It was just dark.
Well, Laura, I've been told by a law enforcement source who was at the scene that the search and rescue operation has become even more grave here over the past minutes and hours, that the images, they're starting to get images back from the rescuers who are on the water, the boats, the divers, and they describe them as stunning. Difficult to even make out what they are seeing. The plane is in pieces in the water, and officials right now are preparing for this to be potentially the deadliest disaster here in Washington in decades. We have confirmed there are fatalities in the Potomac, and at this point, a law enforcement source tells me no survivors have been pulled from the water. We're expecting a press conference.
DC Fire and EMS. This evening at 8:48, an alert was sounded, initiating a large regional response to a report of an aircraft crash on approach to the airport. This response includes first the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority's Fire Department, the District of Columbia Fire Department, the Metropolitan Police Department, and the U.S. Park Police to respond into the area and to sort that out. At 8:58, the first units arrived on the scene and found an aircraft in the water and began rescue operations. This incident has grown. There's currently about 300 responders working. We have
Duffy here, Secretary of Transportation. We wish we were gathering for different purposes today. I just want to let you know that the Department of Transportation, the FAA, along with the White House, President Trump, local, state, and federal partners all working together on this incident in unison. I couldn't be prouder of this team that's been assembled, working tirelessly. Mayor, I want to thank you specifically for your work. A few details I'd like to give all of you, and some of you have reported this, but last night, if you live in the D.C. area, you would know that this was a clear night last night. The helicopter was in a standard pattern. If you live in the D.C. area, you'll see helicopters up and down the river. This flight pattern is seen oftentimes when you live in D.C. This was a standard flight pattern last night as well. The American Airlines flight coming into land was in a standard flight pattern as it was coming into DCA. So this was not unusual with a military aircraft flying the river and aircraft landing at DCA. And again, if you live in the area, you'll see that frequently with those two aircraft working together. As many of you have reported, we have located the two aircrafts. The fuselage of the American Airlines plane was inverted. It's been located in 3 different sections. It's in about waist deep water. So that recovery is going to go on today as that recovery takes place of the fuselage of the aircraft. NTSB is going to start to analyze that aircraft, partner with the FAA with all the information we have to get the best results possible for the American people. I would just say that safety is our expectation. Everyone who flies in American skies expects that we fly safely, that when you depart an airport, you get to your destination. That didn't happen last night. And I know that President Trump, his administration, the FAA, the DOT, we will not rest until we have answers for the families and for the flying public. You should be assured that when you fly, you're safe. Thank you.
Don't read into that we had how many hours the pilots on a military aircraft had, and you had another question for me that was...
Last night the president had said that this could be prevented, and also that air traffic control, questioning why they may not have communicated with the helicopter telling them what to do.
So we are going to wait for all the information to come in from this vantage point, but to back up what the president said, what I've seen so far, do I think this was preventable? Absolutely.
Thank you.